Hi everybody, it's Laura from Green Tree, and today I am talking about camping and camping foods. Now, I don't do a lot of camping currently, but I used to do some when I was younger, and I know there are really two different kinds of camping. I mean, you can get more detailed than that, but there's two important things. Can you refrigerate stuff? Can you not refrigerate stuff? So first I'm going to give you a couple of little tips and tricks that are suggested if you are in a situation where you have a cooler or some other kind of refrigeration like those cold packs, and you can bring stuff with you that has to be kept cool. This tends to be a weekend trip or a time when you have access to a vehicle or just don't have to walk very far with a large cooler. So one of the things that I found that's actually pretty interesting is to take a water bottle or a jar and crack your eggs into it ahead of time. So if you pre-crack your eggs like that, you don't have to worry about breaking them in your bag or in your cooler, which is really kind of handy for camping. Another thing that you can do is make your pancake or biscuit batter ahead of time, put it in one of those heavy-duty Ziploc bags, and then you can just snip the corner off and squeeze it right into your pan when you arrive where you're going to. So those are both things that require refrigeration. Another thing that you can do is pre-marinated chunks of different kinds of meats and veggies that have to be kept cool, but again, you're going to have some kind of a cooler for this. Now the other kind of camping, which is what I've mostly been used to, is things where you're just like, all right, we don't know exactly how long we're going to be out here, but we know we're not going to keep this stuff cold. So these things are frequently recommended for camping when you actually won't be able to refrigerate your food. A really popular thing is canned food. Canned food is great because you don't have to add water, so you don't have to worry about how you're going to get and heat and sanitize your water. I recommend this if you don't have to worry so much about weight, so this is good if you're canoeing or if you're only packing for a short distance. And the other thing about these is that you do have to remember you don't want to leave any trash behind when you're out camping and cooking, and you will have to carry the empty can back with you, which may or may not be convenient. Now, a lot of people, for that reason, like something more like this. Now, this is an already hydrated, ready to eat, just kind of heat and go meal. But because it's in this bag, which is relatively thin to begin with, once it's empty, you can just squeeze this right flat, roll it up, and put it back in your bag, and it's going to take up a lot less room. So this is really easy to bring along with you. Another thing that works like this is ready to eat grains, like grains that are already cooked. I love this brown rice. I eat this all the time, but it's also in this type of package where you can just roll it up. So it's really fairly light to carry. You don't have to worry about finding water to cook your rice, because who wants to spend an hour cooking rice over a campfire? That's just not going to work great. And if you have just a couple of things like this, they're relatively lightweight. You can roll them up when you're done, and you can have a delicious curry while you're out in the woods. And everything tastes better in the woods, but I would eat this for dinner just on a regular day of the week. In fact, I have on more than one occasion. Other types of ready-to-eat grains are definitely available. One that's super popular is couscous. Couscous is great because it requires a really small amount of water compared to other types of grains. I mean, it's really sort of a grain hybrid pasta thing, but you only need a very small amount of water. You pour this in, let it sit for 5 minutes, and this is ready to go. You can get it plain or you can get it already flavored. This is a mushroom and herb, and that makes a great base for anything that you've picked or caught while you're out camping if you are the type to forage or fish or anything like that. Now, another thing you can do if you don't want to have to worry about adding any water, if you want something you can snack on as you walk, is seed crackers and seed breads. Now you can buy them like this, and you can see this texture that I'm talking about here. This is something that's really dense with seeds. It doesn't have a bunch of other grains and things in it, and you can make these yourself really easily in the oven or dehydrator, or you can get them like this. The only important consideration is if you don't want to be eating basically like little powdered chunks, this is the kind of thing that you want to put in a rigid container of some sort, or in an inner pocket of your backpack that isn't going to get smashed as easily. But these are really handy because they're going to be high in fiber, they're going to be high in protein, and they're going to have lots of good fats, so they're going to help you keep going. Now, another suggestion that was made by one of our staff who likes to go on long camping trips is hard candy. And it's for the same reason that it's easy to have while you're walking. And as she put it, it takes your mind off the pain. So when you've been walking for a really long time and you kind of don't want to go any further, you can pop a hard candy. It gives you this nice flavor to focus on. It keeps you from having a dry mouth, gives you that little sugar kick, and it's just pleasantly distracting while you're out and about in the wilderness. Another thing that is great for camping is tortillas and flatbreads. They typically don't have to be refrigerated. It is so much easier than a regular loaf of bread because they're already flat. It doesn't matter how many things you set on top of these in your pack, they're not going to get any flatter. Whereas if you start with a loaf of bread like this, you go to make your sandwich and it's like that, you're going to be kind of disappointed. So tortillas, wraps, flatbreads are great for that reason. A lot of backpackers also swear by bringing cheese with them. It depends on your personal comfort level with keeping that at a cool temperature, but a lot of semi-hard to hard cheeses will backpack fairly well so long as it's not a weeks long trip. And if you have a block of cheese and a pack of tortillas, you can make yourself quesadillas on the campfire. Just be sure to have some tin foil at least so you've got something to keep it out of the coals. Then another thing that you're going to worry about is just energy boosts as you're out and about camping on the trail. That's where something like this comes in. This is Rainbow Party Mix. This is something I'm going to be sampling today. It's a really nice mix because it has like the nuts and dried fruit that you're used to and something that's more energy dense, but it's also got these little basically like natural M&Ms and peanut butter cups that are going to give you both the sugar rush and a morale boost. And this can be used to make a dessert too. This doesn't have to just be a snack. Another good thing to carry when you're camping is any kind of fresh fruit or vegetables that's sort of self-contained and relatively hardy. And apples are a great camping food because you can cut out the middle, put something like this inside, bake them on the fire, and have a really tasty dessert that you didn't have to add any extra water to. You can also use instant oatmeal in a similar way. Bring those little packets, add the amount of water that's required, and then add something like this to provide some extra texture, some extra flavor, that little sugar boost, and it'll both make your breakfast more delicious and keep you going for longer. If you want something a little heartier, we have this really amazing coconut paleo granola, and this is great because there's no grains in this, so you don't get the emptier carbohydrates. It's all nuts, dried fruits, coconuts, seeds. So this is something that's going to be super energy dense, easy to carry, tastes good, and I'm going to sample this later if you're curious about what the flavor is like. But it's also relatively lightweight for the amount of nutrition that it packs, and that makes it another great thing for backpacking. Another favorite for backpacking is ramen and miso packets. These are great because like you can take this little tiny packet. I mean, I have relatively small hands. It might be hard to see, but the packet itself is probably only about 2 inches square. You add some hot water to this and you have a whole mug of soup. It's got tofu, it's got little bits of seaweed, a lot of flavor, really easy to make, one step, one dish, and so that makes it super handy. It's also very lightweight. It's freeze-dried. Freeze-dried foods are amazing for camping, and honestly, I keep a lot of freeze-dried fruits and vegetables in my kitchen because sometimes I forgot to pick up an onion or I don't have any fresh asparagus, but I can grab a handful of that freeze-dried, throw it into what I'm cooking, and within a couple minutes, it's just like it was fresh. So freeze-dried things are a really great thing to take along camping. And then finally, we're going to talk about jerky. So jerky is a serious camping staple. It's great because it's high in protein, it's very lightweight, it's satisfying because you can just chew it as is, there's no prep required. And there's now a jerky for the vegan and vegetarian set. I'm going to be sampling this today too. So this is a mushroom jerky. We also have the more traditional meat-based jerkies. This one happens to be bison. I believe we have venison, turkey, pork, beef. There's quite a few different kinds of jerky available. But again, they're super portable, they're very satisfying, and now you can carry them even if you're vegan or vegetarian. So the last thing that I want to suggest is bring some seasonings. I don't have an example to show you, but any kind of small container, Tic Tac containers are very popular, those tubes that gum come in, little pill separators, empty lip balm tins. Any kind of small hard-sided container is a great way to carry seasonings with you on the trail. You can perk up any of these things that we talked about. You know, you can add it to your rice, you can add it to your eggs, you can add it to anything that you've foraged or fished or found along the way that you want to eat, just to add that extra oomph of flavor. So bring some seasonings, carry stuff that's going to be relatively lightweight, easy to use, and don't leave your trash out there. Just keep the woods pretty, keep the river pretty, and you know, think of the animals that have to live there when you come back. So those are my camping tips. If you want to come down and try the items that I mentioned, the jerkies and the trail mixes, I'll be doing that till about 5:30. And in the meantime, I hope you guys have a beautiful Tuesday, and if you decide to go out, a great camping trip. Bye.